Motorcycling is about having fun. It's a recreational vehicle. You can use it for commuting, you can use it for all kinds of things, but the very bottom line of motorcycling is it's a fun activity to do. You're out there having a good time and just keep pushing your riding horizons. Solve problems, go farther.
Welcome to the Janus Motorcycles Podcast. Our kind of motorcycling is different from what you see from big brands and big bikes. We manufacture classic, simple, small displacement motorcycles because that's what we like to ride. And we're not alone. On this podcast, we talk with some of the smartest and most interesting people we know in motorcycling, design, and manufacturing. We're glad you're here. Hello, and welcome to episode 9 of Why We Ride, the Janus Motorcycles Podcast. My name is Richard Worsham, founder and designer here at Janus. And today I am extremely excited to be joined by a good friend and long-distance riding, aficionado, Tim Masterson, who really introduced me and the whole Janus community to the idea and the concepts of long-distance motorcycling. So we're really excited for it. Welcome, Tim. It's a pleasure to have you.
Richard, thank you very much, and I appreciate being with you.
Well, let's start off, and I'm just going to let you give us a little introduction to your backstory. How did you get into motorcycling? What have you done over the course of your life that's led to this? And just give us a little idea, backstory on you.
Well, thank you very much. First off, I'm an old guy. I'll be 73 years old this year. So I've been doing motorcycle riding since really when I was a teenager. I rode a couple of my friends' Gamma Goats. You know, I don't know if you remember what those were. They were lawnmower engines on two wheels. And they're just like little scooters, but I never really had a new motorcycle until April of 1969. This is when I got my very first motorcycle. I was in the Army at the time. I had just come back from an overseas tour in Korea, and I got stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. Mm-hmm. They put me way out in the sticks. I didn't have any transportation, but I did have $800 that I managed to save while I was overseas. So I went down on Thursday afternoon. I went down to Victory Drive outside of Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia, and bought a brand new Suzuki 1969 T200 motorcycle. It was a two-stroke, had, 30 or 40 horsepower. It was pretty good. It was for $469. I couldn't complain. And I got a premium helmet for $19. It was a Bell helmet. That was on Thursday afternoon. On Saturday morning, I signed out on leave, and over the next 3 days, rode that motorcycle to El Cajon, California to go on leave. I was kind of hooked on long distance riding after that. I slept alongside the road for 2 of the nights. On the third night, someplace in Arizona, I got a hotel for $12 and had to take a shower. So that tells you just by the prices how long ago I was riding motorcycles and how cheap things were. Now I couldn't even fill up a quarter tank of my gas tank for $12. But at any rate, I was kind of hooked on motorcycling after that. And I had several motorcycles before I got out of the Army and eventually got out and in 1970 got married and had a couple then. I had a 1971 Bull Taco Matador, which was my first dirt bike.
Nice.
A lovely time with that. That was so much fun. Of course, I was indestructible. Being a 21-year-old guy, you don't think anything's ever going to happen to you. And I had a great time with that.
Another two-stroke.
Of about 30 years of being married, I had one motorcycle here and one motorcycle there. A couple of times when I was in the Army, I went back in the Army and made a career of it. I wasn't riding. Like I didn't ride a motorcycle when I was in Alaska or Panama, a couple of overseas assignments that I went through. But after I got out, got a motorcycle again. And to date, I've owned 24 motorcycles in my lifetime. And Janus Halcyon was one of those. So it was a great motorcycle.
Or a Griffin.
Oh, yeah. Griffin, yeah. I got it confused with your other ones. Yeah, it was a pretty nice little motorcycle, too. We can talk about more of this later on, but well, now's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
I like long-distance motorcycle riding. That's what I've been doing.
How did you get into, just so we progress logically, how did you... So you were obviously into long distance riding, but then how did that progress over the years?
Good point.
Would you just ride long distance, or was there how did you get into, let's say, like the Iron Butt Association?
Yeah, most of the riding that I did up until about 2000 was just what everybody does on a motorcycle. You ride to a friend's house, you go for a weekend ride and things like that. And I never really thought of long distance riding as a sport or a hobby until I got introduced to the Iron Butt Association. Iron Butt Association is the world's premier long distance riding organization. And I stumbled across it one day, and somebody said, "Are you a member of the Iron Butt Association?" I said, "No. What is that?" So I did some research. This was in around 1999 or so. And I was a typical motorcycle guy where I'd ride down to, I was living in Virginia at the time, and I'd ride down to Daytona and go to Myrtle Beach and go to all those motorcycle rallies and have a good time. I was riding Harley Davidsons at the time. And I found out about this organization that kind of sanctions your rides. And for your folks that are listening that are unfamiliar with the Iron Butt Association, it's a free organization to join. They have some membership levels that most people just jump into. But to become a member of the Iron Butt Association, you document your ride of 1,000 miles in under 24 hours. And
that's it, right?
That's it. 1,000 miles in 24 hours. And a lot of people do it maybe once, maybe twice, and then they're done with it. And they say, okay, yeah, I'm a member. And they get to wear the patch. It kind of looks like this guy here. And they can claim that they've done it. And there's even a record of you doing it for everybody to see. So in 2000, I actually did that on a Harley Davidson Buell S3T. It was the Sportster engine that Eric Buell threw on a motorcycle frame, and he put some nice cool stuff on it. And it was a screaming motorcycle. And I rode from Stafford, Virginia, all the way down to Hardeeville, North Carolina, and back in under 24 hours. It was a pretty easy ride. It was all up 95, except for the time, they got traffic and everything.
And that was your first IBA ride? Yeah,
that was my first certified long distance ride. And just to fast forward a little bit, I've done, 35 or 40 of them, all documented. But then I said, what else can I do than this long distance riding thing? And apparently this organization for long distance riders, the Iron Butt Association, every 2 years they have a motorcycle rally. And this rally isn't kind of like the Daytona or Myrtle Beach or Laconia or all the rest of those motorcycle rallies where people come and they drink and they have a good party, for 3 or 4 days. This is kind of like a scavenger hunt on wheels, and it's timed. The Iron Butt Rally is 11 days and 11,000 miles. And it's 11 days straight.
Let that sink in for a minute.
11 days, 11,000 miles. Usually broke up into 3 different legs. Each leg, a number of hours, 60 hours or 120 hours or something like that. And what you do is you get up in the morning, you leave, and you go to these bonus locations that are in a book, and you document when you got there, your odometer miles and the time that you got there, and you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one. And at the end of that leg, you get scored on how many you went to, and there's a point value associated with each one. They're not all the same point values, so the trick is you got to pick the greatest
right
number that you can do in your ride pace ability, and try to get showed up. Well, if you're familiar with the Pro Golf Association's Masters, this is the Olympic event of long-distance motorcycling. So it attracts all the long-distance motorcyclists around the world. They generally only have about 100 people get into the Iron Butt Rally, and maybe 80 of them finish successfully, and the top 10 are awarded trophies. And you get bragging rights and say, I've been in the Iron Butt Rally, and people go, wow, man, that's the world's toughest motorcycle rally. And you say, yeah, but I was way down in the pack. I've been in 3 times. I did 2011, got a gold medal. That was my first motorcycle rally of any sort.
What does that mean? Top what?
Top 20.
Top 20, okay.
Yeah, top 20 people. And in the 2013 rally I rode, I got number 16, so another gold medal. And in the last Iron Butt Rally I rode, which was the 2015, I missed gold by 1 point. By 1 place. I was the last silver medal finisher before they announced the gold thing. They said, okay, that's enough. I'm never going to be anything more than a mediocre rider when it comes to the Iron Butt Rally. So since then, I've been volunteering to work the Iron Butt Rallies, and I really enjoy that. And that kind of kicked off my volunteer activities with the Iron Butt Rally. The Iron Butt Rally doesn't have any employees. Michael Kneebone is the president of it, and he probably manages everything. But most of it's staffed by volunteers. And I've been involved in the ride development and building up a nice portfolio of different kinds of rides.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what's the history of the IBA, and then and also like how is the rally different today than it was in, like, let's say it was around in the 80s, right? Yes.
Well, the first, the Iron Butt Association stemmed out of the Iron Butt Rally. The Iron Butt Rally first came about in about 1983, and they started running it every year. First year, there was only about 11 people to do it. It kind of caught on. The second year, there were more, and then there were more and more and more. About 1988 or 89, Michael Kneebone had the idea of creating the association so that people can join the association, start to document their rides. And he started with the Saddle Sore 1000, and then there were a couple of more, 1,500 miles in 36 hours or 24 hours for the gold level. So a lot of the rides are, some of them are distance rides, some of the rides are geographical rides, and some of them have themes to them. So the Iron Butt Association started off with those first 11 people that did the Iron Butt Rally, and each one of them got a Iron Butt number from that. So after they started to bring on hundreds and hundreds of people, you started to develop the more people, the higher your Iron Butt number did. So the way it is today is there's probably 80 or 90,000 Iron Butt members around the world. And when I got my Iron Butt certification the first time, my number was 8,590. And when I got finished my first Iron Butt Rally, they took that number away from me and gave me 415, which is
because you're in the rally, you get a new number.
I was the 415th person to complete the Iron Butt Rally.
Right.
And up until maybe last Iron Butt Rally, more people have gone into space than had finished the Iron Butt Rally. So it's a pretty elite crowd. So that's kind of the history of the Iron Butt Association. But now it has morphed itself into this large international organization. And it always wanted to be a fee-free kind of association, but because of the complexities of the way things are now, you can still join for free. Your first ride is always free, and maybe even the second or third. But if you want to do some of the more challenging rides, then they want you to become a premier member. And it's very easy, very cheap. It's like $40 a year, but you get lots of important things like concurrent certification, which means you go to a place where you're going to do like say a Saddle Sore 1000 or a coast to coast in 50 hours, and you take a picture of your odometer with a dated business receipt that has the date, time, city, state of the place that you're starting, and then you get on the road and you go, and every 300 or so miles you get another dated business receipt. Then at the end, you take a picture of your odometer and the ending receipt, and you submit that online, and you get instant certification. Then they send you a certificate.
You don't have to wait.
No, you don't have to wait.
Approve it.
Yeah, that's the way it was forever. But the Iron Butt Association is just a bunch of normal motorcycle riders like me that have gotten the bug of riding long distance. And I'd like to take this opportunity to tell your crowd that you're looking at a guy who got a spontaneous award and draft into the Iron Butt Association by riding his Janus all the way from San Francisco to New York City in 6 days.
6 days, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I was happy to be part of that.
Well, Tim, you were definitely my long-distance riding mentor, so you taught me enough to get me into it, and I've since then done a couple more.
Yeah, I've got a lot of backstory on that that your listeners might be interested in.
Tell us about then. Maybe you tell the backstory, but we can also talk about George Wyman.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to right now. Well, my long distance riding hero is a guy called George Wyman. He was a 26-year-old who, in 1903, he left San Francisco on May 16th, 1903, and rode a motorcycle all the way to New York City in 50 days and arrived on July 6th. His motorcycle was a 1902 California, 1.25 horsepower, 200 cc's, and had pedals on it. Most motorcycles at the time were bicycles that had motors on them. Of course, everybody at Janus is familiar with that because that's the way you guys started out. But George was my hero, and I had drafted him into the Iron Butt Association by creating a couple of rides. One ride was the 50cc, which you ride from San Francisco to New York City in under 50 hours on your motorcycle during the same period that George did. And the other one was the Grand Tour. And the Grand Tour is the one that I invited you to ride, Richard, on your Janus. And you accepted, showed up. We've got lots of good pictures, and I'm sure everybody's seen those videos. But me and the other organizer of our Grand Tour that year said, yeah, he'll get out there and he'll give it a good shot, and we'll support him along the way. And we never thought that you'd make it. Really. And, that even almost came to fruition. Richard was driving across Wyoming and someplace around, I can't remember the name of the town. What was the name of the town?
Oh, my goodness. Something Rock. I don't remember the exact location. Yeah.
Yeah, Point of Rocks, maybe. Apparently he had a breakdown. We found out about it, and I rode my motorcycle out there, and there was some little mechanical issue. Richard had to go back, and he got go back to the nearest town. I think he got towed, and I told Cliff, the other organizer, and said, we'll probably never see him again. And we just continued on with the Grand Tour. We were stopping at different places and meeting up with the other riders. There were about 14 or 15 riders doing the Grand Tour. And we were in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Spent the night. I get up the next morning, open the curtain, and I look across the courtyard, and there's Richard outside at the hotel doing preventive maintenance on his motorcycle. And I said, Cliff, Richard's here. And he ran over to the window and looked and said, dang, we ran down there and talked to you. And you apparently, from the middle of Wyoming, got your motorcycle fixed.
In the hotel room.
Yeah, you were probably in the hotel room. You rode it all the way to Council Bluffs and got there and met everybody else and was right back on schedule. So you finished the Grand Tour, and Mike Kneebone, the president of the Iron Butt Association, was so impressed by your long-distance ride on a 200cc motorcycle that he immediately awarded you Iron Butt membership status. And that was, to me, that was the highlight of that entire Grand Tour, was somebody who kind of duplicated what George Wyman did, got recognized for it. So I was really, really tickled with that.
That was so much fun, and it was such a memorable experience. Getting to meet Mike and learning about it. I mean, it really was thrown into it, but to be able to, it was a great opportunity to prove what a little 250 Halcyon can do. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
that gave me an idea that you also had during one of my volunteer trips with the or sessions with the 2019 Iron Butt Association rally. I stopped by Goshen to see Richard on my way to the next checkpoint, and Richard was following the Iron Butt rally. He was going, there were daily reports, and he was just into it big time. And we met up at Goshen, and he said, Tim, I'd really like to get into the Iron Butt rally. And I said, well, Richard, that would be cool. Would you ride one of your motorcycles? And he said, yeah, I'd love to. I said, Richard, you'd never get into the Iron Butt rally, but I could. And I said, look, let's think this thing out. I mean, what would you think of me riding one of your motorcycles in the Iron Butt rally? And of course, you just jumped on it. So we came up with the Janus IBR project, and the idea was for me to ride in the 2010 21 Iron Butt Rally. So
That's right,
this was in 2019. So we worked things out. I took possession of a Griffin and started to modify it. And I had a training plan. My training plan was I couldn't fully commit to riding it in the Iron Butt Rally until I was convinced that I could. My first hurdle was trying to convince the people in the Iron Butt Rally to let me in on a small CC motorcycle. Now, the Iron Butt Rally has had lots of experience with small CC motorcycles. As a matter of fact, they had somebody ride a Suzuki GN 125 and successfully finish.
Really? 125? Wow.
Yeah, 125. And there are several scooters that have finished it also. But those were in the old days when you could ride from checkpoint to checkpoint. The new modern Iron Butt Rally was you had to acquire enough points to be able to become a finisher, which means that you had to go to a whole bunch of bonus collection places.
And a lot of people, the winning bikes are doing more than 11,000 miles in those 11 days. I want to say the last winner, Wendy, she did 12 or more, right? Maybe a lot more than that.
Yeah, there's several people that have done more than 12,000 miles in an Iron Butt Rally, and there's a record classification for that. As a matter of fact, I did 12,093 in my first Iron Butt Rally, and I'm in that record book. So I'm at the very bottom of it, practically. But the person that's rode the most miles in those 11 days did 14,000 something miles.
14,000.
And the first woman who ever came out first in an Iron Butt Rally rode over 13,000 miles. And that was just a couple of rallies back.
Yep.
So it's a very, very elite crowd of motorcycle riders. It's probably less than 1% of all the motorcycle riders in the world are in the Iron Butt Association, and even a smaller percentage that have been in the Iron Butt Rally. All right, so I went up, I acquired the Griffin, paid tax on it so I could get it registered in Texas, convinced the Iron Butt people to rally people to let me come in the hopeless class.
And they did that because of your extensive experience.
Yeah, I was a veteran and had finished 3 rallies before, and I outlined them a training program that I was going to do before I would show up at the start line. And this was the plan with the help of the Janus Motorcycle Company. They were going to be my standby technicians. And the idea was I acquire the motorcycle, I farkle it out to make it long distance riding friendly. We swapped the seat out, took off the banana seat and put a standard big pan seat on it. It was great. And I started to work on a auxiliary gas tank that would put on the back. And I'm sure you guys got pictures of it. I'll send you a picture of the one that
we'll put it in.
That I like, and we'll put that up so everybody can see that. But here was my training plan. The first thing I wanted to do was a saddle sore 1,000. That's 1,000 miles in 24 hours, followed by a coast to coast in 50 hours ride from San Diego to California to Jacksonville Beach, Florida. After that, I would do Ride Around Texas, which was a 3,100-mile course. These are Iron Butt Association certified rides that I would document. After that, Ride Around Texas, the last one was to do 48 states in 10 days. And that was the final training thing. If I can get the Griffin to do 48 states in 10 days, doing oil changes on the road, doing all the maintenance on the road, then my ride pace would make it so that I could get enough points in an iron butt rally and finish. I had been pretty good at selecting a route, given my previous 3 iron butt rallies, so I could get enough points to finish each of the legs and then qualify to do it. So that was the idea. So in March of 2020, I went to the annual Iron Butt Association spring kickoff event, which is at Jacksonville, Florida. And I rode the Griffin all the way out there, and it was great. And the ride that I did was ride from Jacksonville down to Key West and back to Jacksonville. They call it the Key West, the Crazy Key West 1000. Did that without any problem at all. Motorcycle was great, super. And from there, I was going to do the 50cc to go all the way out to California, which was the second training ride, qualification ride that I wanted to do.
But you're doing these back to back.
Back to back, yeah, sure, why not? And rode up to Jacksonville Beach and got a hotel room, left that morning and got to Mississippi and had a mechanical issue and I couldn't find it. I thought it was the battery kept running out and I never could get it fixed, so I had to get the motorcycle towed back home. Got home, tore it all apart, and I discovered that one of the wires that was coming from the rectifier or something like that, going to the coil, had frayed against the frame, and it would just cut everything out, and the battery would run down, and it wouldn't run anymore. So got that fixed, and I said, I put shrink wrap over every wire I could find on the thing to protect them and got everything out of the way. And then rode out to San Diego and was going to do the 50cc going the other way. Yeah, got out there, no problem, changed the oil at a O'Reilly's just before I started, get a fresh thing of oil, left out early in the morning, and got all the way to Kerrville, stopped for the night in Texas, and got a hotel room, got a good 5 hours sleep, got up the next morning, kept riding, and sometime around, I don't know, after 12 o'clock, I was almost all the way through Louisiana. I just passed a town called Covington. I remember it was Covington because I looked over at a hotel that I had once stayed and said, I once stayed at that hotel. And kept going. And then the next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed.
Not something you want to have happen.
Yeah. No recollection of anything that happened. I looked at I woke up and said, oh, crap, I didn't finish that ride. So apparently I had run off the road. I didn't get hit by anything. I had a slow speed crash. I'm saying it's slow speed because the damage that was done to the Griffin was really, really minor. I mean, it kind of
it was minimal.
Broke the headlight, bent the clutch lever and the handlebar a little bit. I had to tell Richard, say, look, Richard, between now and the rally, this was in May of 2000, and the rally was in June of 2021. And I said, Richard, there's no way that I'll be able to heal myself and get all of those things worked out and get through all of the training rides to do the rally. So I brought the motorcycle back up and donated it to Richard. The idea was,
Tim, why not? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Heal up and get back on it.
Yeah, heal up and get back on it. I had no idea that I would how long it would take me to recover. I'm back to riding. I started back riding in January of 2021. It was a very, very short ride. Went down to South Padre Island to watch one of the SpaceX things flew up. But there's no way I could have ridden long distance and done it. The original plan was I was going to ride the Griffin in the Iron Butt Rally, finish it, and from the checkpoint, the finishing point. I was going to ride back to Goshen and immediately donate the motorcycle back to Janus. Like I said, that was my biggest disappointment of my long distance riding career.
Well, we all learned a lot, and it was definitely I think it was a great. Apart from obviously we were, I was tracking your progress and noticed the bike stop, and we were all worried about you, but we were so glad to hear that you're okay, and not only okay, but back to riding a motorcycle at all.
Yeah,
so
come to find out, you were instrumental in my rescue because you immediately called one of the people, Cliff, and Cliff, he knew what to do. He picked up the phone and called the Iron Butt Rally master, Lisa Landry, and she's got so much experience dealing with crashes during the Iron Butt Rally that she got a hold of my wife and got everything worked out, and everything turned out okay after that, thanks to you.
Well, let me say one thing before people get too terrified about long distance riding, and especially Iron Butt Association, is that, and Tim, I'll kind of get your feedback on it, but one of the things that the Iron Butt Association prides themselves on is safe riding. And so what happened to Tim can happen on any ride. That is one of the risks of motorcycling. But he's also, if you probably factor in all the miles you have under your belt, you have a pretty good record for safety. Yeah, and that's something the Iron Butt prides itself on.
Yeah, that's I've had 2 crashes that I can remember in my life. And one was out of all the miles that I've ridden a motorcycle, not counting the fallovers in the dirt with a bull taco or something like that, right, or tip overs, but crashes where you got injured. And the only 2 I've ever had out of maybe almost 1 million miles on 24 different motorcycles was I got run off the road going to work one morning in 2000 when I was in Virginia. And the crash on the Janus. All the rest of those long distance rides that I've been on, there's a thing in the long distance riding community called ridecraft.
Yes.
I kind of define ridecraft as the knowledge, skills, and abilities used by a long distance motorcycle rider to maintain a consistent ride pace, manage risks, and achieve navigational objectives. The short thing of that is stay on the motorcycle, don't crash, and get where you want to go.
Right.
I've prided myself on not using excessive speed to get to where I want to go. I always want to maintain a consistent ride pace, stay on the motorcycle, cut your fuel stops short, cut your rest stops long enough to make sure that you get good night's sleep. And for me, that's 5 to 7 hours every day. So even during the Iron Butt rallies, I would get at least 4 hours of sleep at night. Most of the time it was 6 hours. And a lot of times it was 8 hours because they would give you points for a rest bonus. You'd get X number of points for every minute up to 8 hours. So it's easier to just stay in the bed for 8 hours than it is to go out and look for bonuses. But
and they monitor your speed too.
Yes, the modern Iron Butt Rally monitors speed, and they will take away all of your points for a day if they catch you speeding, and you could even be thrown out of the rally for speeding. Yep. Another organization, the Hoka Hey folks, a lot of the Harley Davidson riders, that's their iron butt rally, if you will. And it's about the same time or same miles, 10,000 miles in about 10 days or so. And they put GPSs, fleet tracking GPSs on your motorcycle. And if you get a traffic ticket for speeding, you're done. They just throw you out. You're unqualified. So the long distance riding community is not about reckless motorcycling. It's about safe motorcycling.
Yeah. So I didn't want to ask you about that concept of ridecraft. Actually, the idea of bringing Tim on the podcast is really, I was thinking about ridecraft, and when I did the Wyman ride, San Francisco to New York, that was one of the things that you kind of gave me a crash course in what long distance riding was and how IBA scoring is done and what it means to maintain a ride pace, and the idea that you want to get from, how am I going to say this? You want to be safe, but it's also that there's a lot of factors that go into getting anywhere. And ridecraft, it's like a balance of safety. Well, just like you said, staying in the saddle, getting to the destination, and doing it safely. I want to say something like, I feel like those are the same. Ridecraft is not a skill that's only for long distance riders. It's actually a skill that we use every time we get on a motorcycle. Long distance riders are interested in basically like testing the limits of what you can do in everyday riding. It's not on a track. It's everyday riding in traffic. And it's kind of like the extreme version of regular riding, right? And so those principles of ridecraft are things that we can use all the time on a bike. What do you think about that?
Well, I've given it a lot of thought. I had a career in the military. I was in the Army for 23 years. And one of my specialties was systems analysis. And I got a job down at Fort Rucker, which is this aviation school. And they put me through a course called Instructional Systems Development, where you go out and you design a program of instructions to teach somebody how to, my case, it was fly a helicopter. But all of the things that I learned from that experience, I applied to the long distance riding tasks that I was doing. And there's a Venn diagram that you'll probably have up on the screen by now, but it's riding on the clock. And if you put the rider at the center of that Venn diagram, the rider has to balance many things. And I've grouped those up into 5 categories. One is riding and risk management. You got to stay on the motorcycle and you can't crash, right? And there's also the ride pace and resource management, where your main tasks there are to stay on the motorcycle, riding at the speed of traffic, maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower sometimes, but you're managing those resources. The resources are the fuel, the food that you eat, the rest that you take, the time that you spend on the motorcycle is a resource. You can't do it all at once. You have to have rest breaks in there and all of those things. And of course, there's the other side of that coin is the planning and navigation. You got to plan your ride. You got to set out where you're going to stop, how long you're going to be there, and you have to be able to navigate that. And everything while you're riding, there's all kinds of problems that come up, and problems cause stress, and stress causes problems. So you have to be able to manage those things. And for the long distance riding community, there's the personal courage of pushing yourself not beyond your physical limits, but beyond your comfort limits.
Out of your comfort zone.
I haven't been that far. I haven't climbed a cliff like that before. Or
yes.
I haven't gone that distance before. So it takes a little personal courage and a commitment to stop the ride if things get out of hand, or continue to ride if you can still maintain a good ride pace and resource management.
And that ability to make those choices takes discernment and some level of experience and skill. And those are things that I don't know if everyone's cut out to be to participate in the Iron Butt Rally, but the skills that go into doing that successfully are things that can teach all of us, all of our riding, to be because you have to do that. There is stressful, even on a Sunday afternoon ride. Like one of the concepts that we've been talking a lot, or I've been talking a lot on this podcast and in our just thinking about what we do at Janus, is this concept, what I call rambling. And rambling is no one, at least in the U.S., rides a motorcycle because they have to. We all make a choice, at least here. Even if we ride it every day as a commuter, we've chosen to do it for some kind of reason, and that reason has to do with, it's different for different people, but I think one commonality is that riding a motorcycle is something that you have to exert some skill, experience, discernment, and take responsibility for your actions. There's courage involved in that, and so I don't know. I just think that the idea of ridecraft it really is fascinating to me in the way that Tim, you have made this Venn diagram essentially of what it takes to do that is really, really, really a helpful way of looking at riding. And it shouldn't, I guess I just want to make sure that I say it doesn't have, this is like, there's more people have gone to the moon or whatever, than have competed in the Iron Butt Rally or finished the Iron Butt Rally. This is like the extreme version of it, of these, what do they call them? Road grimed warriors, the astronauts of motorcycling. But these are principles that really that apply to even your Sunday afternoon ride. You have to have navigational ability. You have to be able to handle stress. You have to be able to change your plan on the fly, be able to prepare your bike and yourself for doing it. You have to have the gear. Even on a sunny ride, you need to at least there's some kind of level of preparation that you can do. So I just wanted to add that in there. And I think that's meant a lot to me in doing an Iron Butt ride. Even if maybe that should be a goal for folks, is try a Saddle Sore 1000. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah, well, it was that ride from Fort Benning, Georgia to California that pushed my riding horizon. That's what I call it, a riding horizon. I was before we leave the Venn diagram thing, the Venn diagram is very appropriate because a way to portray that, because all of these things happen at the same time. And they're not isolated things. You're doing all of these activities at the same time. And the only thing that's keeping you doing that is your knowledge, skills, and ability of riding your motorcycle.
And when you're done with one of these rides, you don't have anything. Well, you have a certificate and a patch, maybe. Mm-hmm. There's no money. There's no award. This is something that is I want to get back to that kind of rambling idea. Like the reward is the experience, and the experience is transformative. Yeah. You find new horizons, like you've said, for yourself as a individual, and I think that gets to why we all ride a motorcycle in the first place. And
if you look behind me, this is my first Iron Butt ride that I did in 2000, 1,000 miles in 24 hours, and this is my first Iron Butt rally, or my first motorcycle rally. And this motorcycle here, the BMW R1200 GS Adventure, is the finest motorcycle I've ever ridden in my entire life. And I've had 5 of them, and I'm still riding the 2016. It's got 185,000 miles on it.
The perfect spaceship for the astronauts of motorcycling, right?
Well, it's what's better, Ford or Chevy? Is the same thing with motorcycling.
Well, it gives you all the you have a lot of instrumentation. How many? You were telling me you know exactly how many miles until you're empty, and it really is accurate.
Oh, yeah. Well, the BMW is kind of accurate. It uses a computer to calculate how much fuel is going into the engine, and it knows how much is in the gas tank, so it just calculates it out. I've literally run that thing to zero on its range, and I know that I can get 15 to 18 miles after it says zero. I've never run out of motorcycle or out of gas on that motorcycle. So knowing your fuel range is an important thing.
Well, give us some examples of some long distance riding techniques that you would have shared with me before I started the Wyman ride.
Well, you can do it yourself long distance riding, and the way I have on my blog, Hard Riding Adventures, is try to ride from filling up your gas tank to having to stop for gas again. Don't have any brakes in there, and just keep riding from tank to tank. A lot of times people ask me, how do you ride 1,000 miles on a motorcycle? And I tell them, one gas tank at a time. That's all it is. So if you get comfortable for filling up and then riding until you have to stop for gas again, you got 10, 15 miles left. And you work out all the comfort stress issues of being able to do that, then doing a 24-hour 1,000 mile is just riding one gas tank after another and do them in a row. So that's the first tip that I would give somebody who wants to get into expanding their riding horizons, going beyond the distance that they've done before. When I was in the Army, I was a marathon runner, and I was terrified of my first marathon. But I said, if I can just get up to 10 miles, it'll be good. So the next one was 12, 14, 15, 18. And I said, God, I'm at 18 miles. Now, if I just do 20 miles, I'll have it made. So I did my first 20 mile, and I said, 26 miles is going to be easy after this. So you do your first marathon, and it says, I'll just do 2 or 3 others, So motorcycling, riding long distance is the same way. Set your goals, plan your ride, and then ride your plan, and be adaptable enough to change things along the way. If you have to, if you're riding from tank to tank and you have a maintenance issue, stop, get it fixed, and then just keep riding. So it's all about maintaining a consistent ride pace, not a fast ride pace, but a consistent ride pace. And once you know what that consistent ride pace is, then you can plan any ride that you want.
I remember you telling me that, I was like, are you thinking, this, can I do this on a 250, and you're like, well, the motorcycle doesn't know the difference. Once you put another tank of gas in it, it could be starting it off on another day. And I kind of told myself the same thing. I mean, yes, your iron butt does get a little sore the second tank of gas, but after a certain point, you just keep riding and you reach a state of equilibrium.
Long distance riding is not a comfortable sport. The idea is not to get comfortable on your motorcycle. The idea is not to have comfort stress. Everybody knows that if you got a buzz in your helmet and it feels like somebody's sticking a screwdriver into your helmet, it just drives you crazy, and you can't think of anything else but that issue, right? Well, long distance comfort stress on a motorcycle for long distance is the same thing. You want to work those things out. Get your handlebars in the right position, get a place where you can move your feet, get a place where you can be comfortable in a seat, work all those things out. And having the right gear, for me, is one of the best things that you can do. Get rid of your riding jeans and pants like that, because those things just wear out. Feel like you've been wearing a wet diaper for a long time with those things. In the long distance riding community, most people are like me. They wear undergarments that wick moisture or transfer moisture away from your skin, and they have a riding suit on it They don't wear any other clothes when you're riding. I literally rode 1,000 miles in under 24 hours in Death Valley on 30th July with all the riding gear that you'd ever want to see. A helmet, gloves, long sleeve jacket, and riding pants and big old adventure boots on. And underneath that, I had LD Comfort long sleeve shirt on and riding shorts. They're like, biker shorts. But these good riding gear is half the comfort solutions to riding long distance. Once you get good, comfortable gear, a helmet that you can wear on for 15 or 18 hours a day without ever taking it off and feeling comfortable in it, feeling relaxed in it, that's half of it. The other half is just having a motorcycle that'll do it. And like you said, the motorcycle doesn't know. As long as it's got fuel and oil and juice and electricity, it's going to do what it wants to do. It'll do it for 6,000 or 8,000 miles, give it a service, and it's happy again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you're saying about comfort, I think, is really that also gets back to why we ride. No one gets on a motorcycle thinking that it's going to be more comfortable than their car.
No. You want comfort? Take your Bronco.
Exactly. So this is something it's really about exploring your comfort level and finding it that's it. Expanding your comfort level into new territory, which is why we ride, which is a fantastic reason to get into motorcycles. Early on, Tim, you mentioned farkling out your bike. Tell us what about farkling.
Well, farkling is the thing in the long distance riding community we call when we add stuff to our motorcycles to make them more long distance friendly, like maybe a couple of GPSs, some added lights. A lot of people use an auxiliary fuel tank to where when their main tank motorcycles fuel tank gets low, they turn it off and then switch on the auxiliary tank, and they run out of the gas. The Iron Butt Rally has a limit of 11.5 gallons between your stock tank and an auxiliary tank. So that's what everybody else does. I had to do that for the Griffin so that I would get about a 300-mile range on it. That's my comfort range for riding a motorcycle before filling it up again. My GS has a 7.8 gallon gas tank, so I can get 325 miles out of it easy, tank to tank. So that's one of the farkles people do, is add another gas tank, fuel tank. A lot of people are putting on their iPhones and their Android phones. I use Android Auto. I have a GPS. For the Iron Butt Rally, I had 2 GPSs plus a smartphone. So you wanted to have backup. You didn't want to have things done. And one of the fun things on the Iron Butt Rally or using 2 GPSs is they can be exactly the same model, and they will fight each other. Some of them will want, this guy over here might want you to turn here. This one might say, no, you keep going straight. So the idea is not to be a slave to the GPS, but to use the GPS as a tool to help you out, a tool, and you make the decision. You look at the map and say, nah, this road over here is a little easier. I'm going to take that one. Yeah. So a lot of the other farkles, people will put big cushions on their seats. I didn't need to do that. Between my long distance riding ensemble, the clothes that I'm wearing, and a bead rider, those bead things that they put on taxi seats. I have one on my motorcycle. That's all I need. I can stay on a motorcycle for 20 hours a day and not get butt awareness or feeling comfort stress from my rear end. Mm-hmm. And the older I get, the thing that bothers me the most is my knees, because I can't stretch them out far enough and put them on the foot pegs long enough. but the GS is so tall that I can just ride like this, and it just had to dangle my feet off as long as I keep my toes up. It's covered. But like you said, the riding from a full gas tank to having to stop to fuel up again is nothing more than eliminating the problems caused by comfort stress. You do that, and eventually you can plan anything you want. And when you do, the Iron Butt Association has got a couple of hundred different kind of rides that you might want to do. Speaking of astronauts and the point that you made, we even have a ride that goes from Earth, Texas to Moon, Pennsylvania. And the idea is you go on one of the anniversaries of the Apollo moon landings, and on that date you start in Earth, Texas at the launch date, and you get to Moon in under 2 days for a saddle sore 2,000. It's 1,500 miles away. So it's all kinds of different funs. And we've got lots of rides like that.
Fun themes, lots of them.
Well, one last thing about the George Wyman thing, we just added 2 rides to its portfolio. The original Iron Butt Association Wyman rides are the 50cc, which you do it in under 50 hours from San Francisco to California, or the Grand Tour, which is you take 50 days or as many days as you want to visit as many of the places that George Wyman stopped at. Those are all documented, and you'll be able to see that in the links.
At Janus Motorcycles, we are one of the waypoints along the way because George Wyman actually rode right through Goshen, Indiana.
Yes, he did. And there's a plaque on the outside of the Janus factory and a waypoint sign. But we've added 2 new rides, and these are the day rides. You know, when George Wyman rode across the United States in 1903, he averaged 75 miles a day, some days longer miles, some days shorter miles. And some days he didn't ride at all because his motorcycle broke down. He was trapped in Chicago for 4 days one time. But we've added 2 day rides, which is the Saddle Sore 1000 or the Bun Burner Gold 1500. And the idea is you start at a place where George spent the night, where he started the next morning, and you ride 1,000 miles or 1,500 miles in under 2,400 hours and stop at a place where he stopped for the night. So it's a day ride. Okay. So now we got 4 of them. So pretty good. And the first one of that's going to be done 5 or 7 people. Yes, 7 people have signed up for it already. And they're going to start in Ogallala, Nebraska, and ride to Perrysburg, Ohio.
Okay. So one last word I'll say about Farkle, which is a term that I really love. I think is it like a portmanteau of, I've heard functional sparkle or some other.
Yeah, function and sparkle. Yeah, bling to your motorcycle are things that increase its function.
Yeah, but what I would say is, you know, what we do here at Janus, at least, and I think that some people, maybe a lot of people that get into motorcycling, they do it like we've been talking about, not because it's comfortable or because it's practical, but because it's something that's transformative. And maybe like what we do with Janus is we pare down the technology. We don't have any, computers like BMWs that tell you exactly how much fuel you have. You can add those, but to me, Farkle is anything on there that it could be a roll chart. It could be a water bottle holder. Simple things that make your riding more that allow you to open up your horizons. And I think it's just I would just kind of maybe we're about an hour. Wrap this up by saying that maybe iron butt riding or long distance riding isn't for everyone, but expanding your horizons, getting out there on the road for more than 25 miles. It can be an incredible experience, and it can add to just your everyday riding as well. And it's something that's accessible. It's really fun. Tim, where would people learn more about IBA, about the IBA?
Just Google Iron Butt Association, And I would even say Google Iron Butt Association theme rides, and that'll take you to our portfolio of rides. The main website is great. If you want to learn more about some of the things I did, just go to Hard Riding Adventures. It's a blog that I've put up, and it has some of the rides that I've done on there, and it has the full text of the ridecraft stuff. And if you want to learn more about the George A. Wyman Memorial Project, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to making George Wyman memorialized. He was the first person to ride a motorized vehicle across the United States. So he did
really
it.
Significant.
Yes, it is. He did it long before Dr. Horatio Nelson Jackson did it in an automobile the same year, but George did it. And who's in the Smithsonian? The guy that did it in the car, not the guy that did it on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Motorcycling, one last thing, like you said,
Yeah.
Motorcycling is about having fun. It's a recreational vehicle. You can use it for commuting. You can use it for all kinds of things, but the very bottom line of motorcycling is it's a fun activity to do, and you're all by yourself. You're out there having a good time, and just keep pushing your riding horizons. Solve problems, go farther.
Well, that's a great note to end on, Tim. It's been a lot to me to do the rides I've done. I've done a couple of saddle sores around Lake Michigan. There's a ride I did down to New Orleans, and those are all on
Trace. Yeah,
Natchez Trace. Those are all on 250s. Now, I will say that the 250 line is not like the easiest way to do a saddle sore. It really requires you to push yourself extra hard compared to like a BMW or a larger a Goldwing or a Harley Davidson. But it is possible, and it's a lot of fun. I think I'm looking forward to trying it on a 450. It'll give me a little more wiggle room in terms of time.
Yeah, I was excited to see you introduce that or increase the stable of Janus Motorcycles with that 450. So when I went to the Iron Butt party in Jacksonville, several people come up to me and says, "God, I just love that Janus I got." So the word's getting out.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tim, this has been a pleasure. Next time, I'm sure you'll be stopping through. Please stop in and say hello. And everybody, he mentioned his Hard Riding Adventures blog. Check it out. He's got a long resume of long distance riding. Check out the Iron Butt Association and enjoy pushing your limits like we all do on a motorcycle. It's a wonderful transformative experience. So thank you, Tim.
Pleasure being with you, Richard.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.